Welcome, everybody. I am very glad you are joining our LinkedIn Live session today. My name is Hannah, and I'm Chief Transparency Officer at Impact Hero, an impact tech company based in Berlin. And we started the company in 2020 to scale positive impact on the Sustainable Development Goals in the areas of, for example, tree planting, plastic collection, coral reef restoration, regenerative agriculture, and others. And we do so by connecting companies and private people with the wish to contribute to positive change with sustainable projects in the global south. And in that sense, we really see collective action as crucial for achieving a positive SDG impact. It's not enough if we all, including companies, do less harm, but we need to scale positive impact. And this is also how we see the role of businesses. If every company included positive SDG impact into its business operations and spread awareness about the SDGs, we could achieve a lot, and companies could act as multipliers for positive change. But we also, as Impact Hero, want to champion greater social awareness about the challenges that are outlined in the SDGs, including climate change and biodiversity. And this is also why we started our LinkedIn Live sessions and have the vision to have this monthly format where we speak with different people in the area to really inspire and also, get the conversation going. And today we would like to have another talk with a very important project partner within one of our impact verticals, which is tree planting, to get the perspective from the ground, as we already did 1 month ago. And so with that, I would like to introduce our guest today. That is Yuvi. Yuvi is from India. He is the son of an orange farmer and currently lives in Berlin and works as senior reconciliation analyst at Trade Republic. And while we usually work with already existing project partners in the Global South who we connect with, the story of the India project is a very special one. And it all started basically with Yuvi's idea and one message that he sent to us in 2021, but more about that later. Welcome, Yuvi. Very, very excited to have you here today.
Thank you, Hannah, and I'm super excited as well to share my journey of Think People and how, just one email back in 2021. From there till now, where we are scaling up to an almost planting 200k trees, so it just feels unreal. And like as you mentioned, my name is Yuvraj Singh Seamer, and I come from the state in north of India called Punjab, which is known as the breadbasket of India. And so you can see, from the name, the state is mostly agriculture based, and so I come from there, and I moved to Berlin in 2018 to do my masters. And after that, I've been working with various startups. And currently, I'm working as a senior reconciliation analyst with Trade Republic. So and like Hannah already mentioned, I come from an agriculture background, where my family is into agriculture for generations. So no one understands better than us, the importance of restoring the landscape and the biodiversity, and how we need them to flourish, in order to have a bright future. So yes, I'm super excited to share all the details which I could, how it all started from one message to where we are till today.
Super. Thank you so much. And I also know Yuvi's parents for the first time actually came to Berlin some time ago, and I had the pleasure to meet them here. I also had the pleasure this year actually to visit Yuvi and his family in India, which was really amazing. But maybe you could tell us a little bit more why you decided to come to Berlin and what your family background is. Like, what is your father doing and how is he doing things? And also, what problems have you encountered from the perspective of your father, basically in your region?
For example, I after finishing my undergraduation in Delhi University, I was looking for new challenges and wanted to test myself on the global stage. So I was looking at the countries, and Germany was one where it was always the track record of the country for finding solutions was something which was always very interesting to me. So I wanted to go and see firsthand what actually how things are done out here, to learn and everything. So that was one of my reasons of choosing Germany when I wanted to choose my masters. And as Hannah mentioned, my family is into agriculture. So my father is mostly, he's an orange. We have orange orchards back then, and since he finished his education as a civil engineer, but he never followed the profession, so he had to jump into the agriculture business. So he himself had the education, so he could use the education into agriculture. But I see around the people out there who lack so much of education, the basic needs which are required, which with small tweakings you can do, and you can make such huge changes to your outcome, to the practices which you do in a positive impact. So but also being a farmer's son, I can see how much the change of the climate change is impacting our practices. Like when I go back home, I sit with my dad and we're just discussing about how things are changing, how the weather is changing, how they have to shift the harvesting season. Naturally, earlier they would get it harvesting season in this, and so it's just like a very healthy conversation when I sit with him, and just to get to know firsthand that exactly something which we read, to get to know from him that okay, these are the things which are actually happening on the ground. So we, before it's too late, we need to take some action, kind of do it, like uh, something which is beyond our control then. So it's very good to like sit with him, exchange ideas out here, where like you can see like okay, the rains, there are unseasonal rains which damage the crop, there is too much heat wave and the trees get a little bit and the vegetables get like really have damage and everything. So in all it's like really good exchange with him when I sit with him to kind of see what actually the impact which is happening with the climate change on the ground. And we all should take some kind of action in our own capacity, to kind of mitigate it as much as we can.
Mm. Yeah, thanks for that. And I mean, I know your dad is an orange farmer, so he's working with trees and he has been working with trees for some time. And he's actually also making a good living with that. So he is really successfully doing agriculture. Could you maybe talk a little bit about Punjab? Maybe for everyone listening, Punjab is a state very western India, very close to the border of Pakistan. It gets very, very, very hot there. It's very much affected by climate change, and most of the people, like in general in India, make their income with small scale farming. Could you maybe tell us about the history of Punjab, the political developments in agriculture, and what problems that also brought with it?
Yeah, so like the name Punjab actually derived from this thing, land of five rivers. That's like Punj means five and Jab like river, so it's land of five rivers. So from olden times, land was very fertile for agriculture and everything. So it was very dependent on agriculture. So people out there had like agriculture and stuff. And then in 1960s, the Green Revolution was introduced, where high yielding seeds and everything and all this were introduced. So the practice shifted from traditional to the modern thing, which in short term the farmers gained, but in longer term it had like an adverse effect on the soil and everything and all. So coming back to the point that Punjab is like agriculture based state, and it's known as the breadbasket of India. And the 70% farmers in India are small scale farmers, which means like they hold land which is less than 2 acres of land. So with this we can just see that they're not able to save enough or something like that, where they can kind of grow or kind of they change their practices and everything, so they're stuck in the circle. And coming back, like so since so much dependency on the agriculture, the climate change plays a big role on the state. Like when it gets too hot, the water irrigation, everything and all is done by artificial canals and all that. So there's no water if there's not enough rain, the waters are not reached to the field, so the farmers are helpless. They cannot grow their seeds, they grow their normal vegetables. So keeping all that in mind, it's a hugely dependent on and as I said, that the monsoon hits, so it's a dry region, so the monsoon is also kind of very dependent. Also, there are a lot of, what I'm trying to say, there's a lot of natural aspects which are associated with a proper and a good harvest of the vegetables and all that stuff. So it's very a lot of dependent. So if there's a little bit of climate change, that has a very big effect on the overall harvest, and a lot of people are impacted directly. Because if there's no rain, there is no rain even in the mountains, then they don't get the canals, don't have the water supply and everything to put into their thing. And the small crops, vegetables, they require a lot of water out there. We are very like, so keeping all that in mind, that the climate change has a very direct impact out there on the agriculture, and people have that as the main profession. In India, out of like entire population, 42% of the population is directly involved in agriculture. So that's a huge number, where and since it's not so much modernized and everything and all, and farmers are small, farms are small, so they are a lot dependent on the natural factors, the climatic conditions and everything. So keeping that in mind, it's really important to see the impact which the climate change is having on these small farmers, where they feel like helpless, and they might be educated towards more sustainable practices of agriculture.
Mm. And I think what you already mentioned, it's so interesting to look at the Green Revolution, as you said back then, where kind of in the name of higher yields, of more efficiency, there were those more like monoculture type of crops introduced. So with basically then wheat and cotton becoming super, super dominant, and kind of the diversity of crops really, really having decreased because of this political situation, which of course means that now soils are depleted because of monocultures, because of pesticides. And that of course makes the effects of climate change even more, like you can feel them more and makes them more severe, because everything in terms of like water, soil health, etc., gets even more severe if you have like a long history of monocultures that was also introduced politically. So now those small scale farmers are kind of stuck with kind of the dependency on those big crops, and at the same time climate conditions are worsening, soil conditions are worsening. So really a super, super difficult situation where you have the effects kind of economic situation, but also ecological situation really, really coming together, which of course makes it super difficult. And I myself, I remember when I was still at school, we learned in like our religion classes about the situation of, Monsanto, the situation in Punjab, about pesticides, about so many also suicides actually happening in Western
Exactly.
India. Such a difficult situation. And
Yeah, like there are like, for example, you mentioned such a good point. Government established towards these green revolution, and then government establishes rules which is called MSP. It's called minimum support price. So government gives these minimum prices to on certain crops to the farmers. So the farmers are so encouraged to like not do a crop diversification, but just towards that, and that is having such a huge impact on the soil, because more pesticides without knowledge, where they're not understanding that in the long run it's such a harmful activity for the soil. So these same thing, like you said, cotton, wheat, they have MSPs, minimum support price. So farmers are stuck on that same crop. They are doing it because they feel like this security, where they know that we're going to at least get this minimum price of the crop. So that's why they're just practicing monoculture, which is super, super harmful. So exactly, like, there could be better policies where there's a lot of MSPs, maybe on different crops, just to encourage crop diversification. Because if you're just giving MSPs on very limited crops, that means you can't even then blame the farmer. To just encourage them to grow that, because they know that something which we're gonna get minimum support price. So keeping that in mind, it's just like you can do like different MSPs on different crops and stuff like that. This is always a discussion, but it's never implemented. That's the
mm,
the sad part.
Yeah. Yeah, and while of course, as you said, it's ecologically harmful, also these farmers actually cannot really make a proper living with, although there's a minimum like guaranteed price, it still does not really like give them enough to make a proper living. And also as harvest climate conditions are worsening, this yield or the money they are getting is of course decreasing. And maybe after having talked about all the challenges in the region, thanks a lot for your insights that you also grew up with and you saw and witnessed firsthand. And I guess your father also witnessed the whole change and what those policy actually did to the state. I would like to go back to 2021 when I received your request in my inbox,
Yeah.
and would love to have you shed some light on this message, your motivation, and what your idea is behind people, and why you basically back then contacted us.
Yeah, like I mentioned, like I have come from like from state which is in like agriculture base. It's a very, very small town in the western front of India, with just 10 kilometers from the international border. So it's a very small town, and I've come from there to like Berlin, and it's already like living a dream, like coming here, working with such like challenging startups and everything, to learning so much. But at the same time, I would never want to forget my roots, where I've come from, the journey which I've taken. Like even in today's world out there, people walk like 5 kilometers to get just fresh water. So that's what kind of the world I've seen, and now I see the most advanced world out here. So it was in a way, I always wanted to give back to my society or my community in whatever possible way I could. And then when I came across your company file on LinkedIn back then, which was Grow My Tree. So I was seeing that, hey, like it's good you grow trees and forests and everything. I'm not in support of that, but in my opinion, most of the time you're losing forests is towards shelter or towards agricultural land. And in India, like I mentioned, there's 42% of population directly involved into agriculture. So I see there's a huge untapped potential which could be tap towards fighting climate change. And just by doing minor tweakings, just giving a little bit of education, showing them the right way, the right practices, this huge potential which is untapped right now could be diverted towards better environmental conditions, social conditions, economic conditions for these farmers. So this is where I came up with the idea, where I contacted her, and I'm so glad that you replied to that, Hannah, in first place. So where I shared my idea with her about how we can collaborate with small scale farmers out there in India, where we can have such an impact on them, where you can kind of, instead of growing trees in forest, you can give these free fruit trees to the farmers on their land, and they can grow trees on their land and have better source of income, which is directly the regenerative agroforestry is at the core of the thought process. We have to break this word down, like there's regenerative and agroforestry. So because, like I said, with the monoculture, the soil health is decreasing day by day, and so we first of all need to get the soil back to its healthier state. So we can, so we step away from the synthetics, and just concentrate more on the natural thing. And then agroforestry is this concept where we can find this innovative way where we can utilize the same space in more efficient way, and just tell the farmer that you can kind of have a better outcome, you can have better productivity, you have better income, and you are not so much dependent on the environment, because on the climate conditions, because trees are more prone, they are more averse to risk and everything, rather than small vegetable, cotton or wheat, which are small crops, where if the weather is bad or something bad, then it is the entire labor of the farmer just goes waste. Whereas the tree has more resistance to the climate change and everything. So that was the core idea, that we should introduce agroforestry to the farmers, educate them about do agroforestry on their land which they already have, because they already have the resources, because they are practicing agriculture, they already have access to the market, because where they go and they sell their other crops, and also so they had all the equipment. Just things they were lacking was incentive and also a bit of education. So that was the core which we started on.
Amazing. Yeah. So it's such a simple idea, actually. It's like giving fruit trees to farmers that can incorporate these trees into their monoculture land, which will then in the long run give them higher yield by basically being able to harvest and sell the harvest of the fruit trees. But also, actually, ecologically, it can regenerate the soil by introducing other practices. And of course, as you're saying, the matter of education is a super, super important one. Actually, like getting awareness around there, out there, what regenerative agriculture can do and how you can change agricultural practices. I mean, also your dad, I know he's really like his standing in the community, really tries to educate people and spread awareness. Yeah, could you maybe tell us a little bit more how people reacted to that idea, and how you basically started in the beginning to implement that also into practice and reach out to people to get a feeling of what the actual, of what the attitude of people towards this proposal was?
Yeah, so basically, I mean, for all our listeners who might not be so aware with the agroforestry concept, so basically, there are different kinds of agroforestry. The one which we are trying to promote there specifically was one which is called silver arrow, where you plant trees, like let's say example of citrus trees, which is orange tree. The scientific approach to it is that you grow a tree at a distance of 20 feet by 20 feet. So you make a square of 20 feet, and that's how you can kind of keep on making. So when the tree takes 3 to 4 years for the canopy to grow. So in that 3 to 4 years, there is a lot of land which is left between 20 feet space on the entire landscape. So the farmer out there is continuing his normal agriculture activities, and meanwhile the tree is also getting prepared. So you see, it's a slow transition. So you don't see, you don't make a farmer do a complete transition where he might struggle into adapting to the new practice. So, and as the tree grow year by year, the space of growing trees between them, the crop between them decreases, and ultimately the canopy grows to the full capacity, and back then the farmer can kind of have proper fruits out of that. So this was the concept which we were trying to tell to the farmers, that it's a slow transition. They also understand like how to go, because just to kind of, they're doing something from so long, and just to put them on another practice would be not fair. So this the agroforestry. So slowly with 4 years, the space of the tree between the trees decreases, and this is what we were trying to educate them. And that, and what we were mainly focusing on that, that you will have in short term, you'll have more income, because even after 2 or 3 years, the tree will also start giving fruits, and you're still growing your vegetables and everything between them, so you'll have double kind of income. And in longer run, the harvest season of the fruit trees is less, so you get like 4 to 5 months, and then 6 7 months the farmer will have a lot of time on his hand to get involved in other employment activities, where the farmer can kind of earn extra income and not go to, because other small labor other crops are very labor intense. You have to be a lot into the farms, do a lot of agriculture, tilling the land, harvesting and everything. But with this, the harvest season is less, so the farmer gets a lot of free time to focus on other things, family things, active other income resources and all. So yeah, so this was the challenges like which we were trying to tell to the farmer. And what we found, like the challenge which I found the most difficult was, which I never imagined, was that when we were giving free fruit trees to the farmers, they were just not ready to like believe in it. That's something I did not anticipated when I was trying to say. So I mean, the farmers were looking from a corner of an eye that there's something hidden in this. Like, how can someone would just come and give us free fruit trees? And why would someone just come out and give trees for us and everything like that? So that's something, we had to, like, we face this challenge very much as trying to tell them that, hey, what, just take the tree, grow the tree, just whatever you want and everything, sell the fruits. We're not going to come take the fruit, so we're not going to do anything. So that was a challenge which we were facing. But to be honest, the good part which I found, that a lot of farmers were aware of this. But like I, like the National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development of India, which is called as NABARD, according to their stats, the average income of a farmer in India is 93 euros per month. So that's like very bare minimum. So you could see with that, the farmers were not able to, save enough money to practice these new things, because these trees, they are, they are done budding, they are grafting. So, the trees cost a bit of money. So it's not easy for a farmer to pull out the money from its day-to-day savings to, go for these trees, which are prepared in like proper nurseries with budding, with grafting and all. Was very labor intense. So they did not have it, the right resources. So which is also I found good, was that, farmers were a bit aware. They really wanted to like have it, but they just did not have had a chance to kind of do it. Like, honestly, government in India do give subsidies if you apply for fruit trees. Then government can reimburse the money, but there is so much of paperwork involved, and there is, like, you have to pay upfront, and it takes around 3 to 4 years on an average for the money to come back. That's like too much of thing. So in a way, this is how where we were trying to kind of come in and say it's a subsidy from our side, which we don't have to even pay back. We're just giving out for the trees. So that's what I think, that the real challenge is now to hold farmers, and we cannot cater to everyone because we are not promoting it. Like, we're not doing any marketing out there. It's just more of mouth publicity, just trying to keep it as close netted, because we kind of sense that there are a lot of people who would go for this thing. They're willing to do the change, but they just don't have the resources. So I think the two big challenges in the beginning was that, first was that, why would someone be stupid to come and give free fruit trees? But we did not understand, we all are going to be the winner in end of the day in this. And second was also to kind of shortlist like who to give, how much. We did like pro rata 100 trees per farmer, because for commercial point of view 100 is bare minimum. So we try to do as less, more impact on people, slowly get to them this thing and all that stuff. So this is like few challenges which we face. But the good thing which I would say, that people were willing to accept the change, but they just did not have the resources. So this kind of made our job a little bit easier, but also to kind of introduce to them that, hey, like, you can also use the vermi compost. Like you saw, like, we were filling up the soil with natural manure and everything, not putting any synthetics into the thing when we are preparing the plant, and also telling them that it's good for the nature. You can use the natural things to have a healthy plant and everything. So slowly they said, okay, like, even the natural things can prepare a healthy plant, because when they would come to the nursery, they see the trees. So I think this was also really good to try to tell them that pesticides is not the only solution. There are other solutions which you can do with the regenerative agriculture. And then there are there are people willing to make changes if you are ready to do it, and at the same time that holding them that, okay. Yeah.
I find that super, super interesting. In general, this also like yeah, slow change in the beginning, kind of this hesitance or this distrust in general, also to this like maybe Western company then kind of standing behind it, like why would they give us anything for free, like what is their hidden agenda, like why do they want to, like what do they actually want to do with that. And also, as you also described, in general, this skepticism towards kind of like having a nursery or having trees grown without using pesticides, like this idea of can that really work. And then with the time, with you being in the ground, and also of course with your dad and your family and the standing they have and all the talks and conversations you had, actually suddenly people realizing the potential of trees for one, but also yeah, really believing in that concept, believing and also like or like seeing the success of actually decreasing pesticides. I find that really, really, really important. And I think it also really, I think for us as a lesson, like for Impact Hero, really showcases again how important it is to actually be cooperating with people who are really deeply rooted in their communities. Because if we otherwise would have gone there, we would have like experienced probably such a backlash. But you and your family really like speaking the language of the farmers, and also your dad, of course, being able to showcase how he himself like successfully incorporated or like lived off orange trees in his past, and being able to speak to these people and like convince them that this project itself actually is in their best interest, is something super, super important, and which I also found super incredible to witness when you now look at, or what you described, the waiting lists, or so many people actually coming in and yeah, really wanting to be part of this project. I think it's super amazing. And yeah, maybe if we could now look a little bit more at the nursery, or like the actual like project in the ground. Could you tell us a bit about how you set up this nursery on your father's ground, and also of course about all of the women involved in your project? Because I know that particularly also your mother, who is such a warm lady, that for her basically empowering all those like women also who usually did not have a stable income over the years, like one of her really big topics. So it would be great if you talk a bit about, yeah, in general, the nursery, how it's set up, and the yeah, female workers that are working there.
Yeah, sure. So, like, first of all, like I say that it is something where ultimately, like I said in the beginning, that, we always wanted to give it back to our community. That's for like my family, my father, my mother, me, everything. Wherever we got a chance, we wanted to give it back. So, in whatever possible way we wanted to give. So, like when we started with the pilot project back in 2021, so we, like as you remember, we we gave like 10 farmers 100 trees each. So because that was such a small scale, so we outsourced the trees from the nursery. So we went to the farmer because farmer will invest 3-4 years into the tree. So you have to have the trust of the farmer. So we went to the farmers, we shortlisted them, we said that which nursery would you prefer to buy it from, like because we did not want to tell them put something which is not in our thing. And the farmer is always skeptical that, oh, why would they give us tree, maybe it's not good quality. So back then this was the route which we were applying, that we asked the farmer that which nursery would you prefer to buy the tree from. And then farmer preferred that, okay, I would go from this nursery. So we went with the farmer, got the trees for the farmer, came back. So everything was transparent in front of him, because it was nothing like, maybe if I would give trees back, then buy it even from the same nursery, give it, farmer would always think that, even for 3-4 years, he always might have a thought in his head that, maybe the trees were not good, that's why they were free, maybe something like that. So we chose the farmer that you choose the nursery, whichever you want to choose the nursery, and we will go there, we will get you the trees. So that's why we wanted, so farmer has the full power, because ultimately it's for his thing, because he's going to invest his blood and sweat in that, getting the tree grown up for 4 years. It's a long-term investment. So you didn't want to give even a single thought where the farmers had any doubt. But then as the project scaled, and as you know, like this year it's distributing around 80,000 trees. So now that's a large number where we could have an in-house nursery. So last November, we started the nursery, which is in-house now on my dad's land. He was so kind to give this land, which we could take it and build it into a nursery. So we have this around 80,000 trees out there, which we bought, and then we did the budding, and then we did the grafting, and then we made it into like the trees are growing. And now the planting season is going to come, because the monsoon season in India has just ended, and now there's a lot of water. There's everything is there, and the cotton season is about to get over. So that's when the farmers are free, and that's where they plan to plant the trees. So maybe November end is the best time where trees going to be planted. So this is what it is. Now that was the overall view, but now if you go back to the beginning, so my mom and my mother and my father, like they wherever they got a chance, they wanted to do the women empowerment, like at the core of the project. So but like I said, that the nursery was a bit of technical things where you have to do grafting and everything. So we had to hire people who knew this knowledge. So we got this men who were into nursery things, but we always kept the women who were working for on the small jobs in the nursery, like bee weeding or watering the plants or filling the packets. We always told them to, kind of be an under trainee with these people, so that they can understand how this budding is done, how this grafting is done, how everything is done, to kind of help them in the process and be an under training with them. Because the main idea was that, we wanted to take them from an unskilled labor into a semi-skilled labor, so something which we can give them and we cannot let, which stays with them forever. Like it's kind of a skill which they will gain. And with that, so all the wherever we needed a bit of professional, we had men like who were nursery people, but wherever we needed those odd jobs of, de-weeding, budding, and all these small things, they were hired like women and every time. And like these are mainly the women who have, like, their husbands are mainly daily wages, they go to the farms and they work. So, and these were mainly, they were doing the odd jobs at home and stuff like that, household stuff. And even if they wanted to, like, go out and work, they would feel shy of, the society, different works in the society. They would not go to environment where they would find a women friendly environment or more women around them, because it's mostly, so that's also one of the big hurdle. They would not go out or they were encouraged. So when I remember in the beginning when I told my dad that, try to get women work. So we asked the local community. So five women showed up in the beginning, and then, the mouth publicity spread that, like, yeah, we're just doing this, just us, like, you don't have to, like, interact so much with the male members around there and everything. So then the number grew slowly, and then we had to kind of put a like a huddle that, we cannot employ more than this. So now they all come to the farm. It's like a social gathering for them as well, where they come, they talk, they work and everything, and they have a stable income. They're not so much of dependent on just one person earning into the house. So there's more sources of income coming into the house, which is also, like, really good for them and everything. So this is something which I never imagined, like, when I was starting this project in the beginning, but now it's something, such a beautiful thing on the way. Like when I go back home, they organize like a picnic, like, so they cook for, like, they all get together, they cook and everything. And now for the next year, we are mostly shifting towards them, because they could do now budding, which they could not do last year because they learned it from the people last year. So it's like really empowering them, giving them some skill which stays with them. And, even our nursery, anywhere, they're always empowered and they can work into it. So that's the core. And my mother, as you said, she is always like the one wanted to give chance to as much as women as possible. So she really looks after all that, and she gets involved and she goes and tracks. Like we had Diwali recently, so she distributed gifts among them. So it's like a very wholesome community building out there and stuff. There are a lot of individual stories also, which I would like to share if you have time. Like we had this one person who lost her husband because of snake bite working in the field, and then her husband's family abandoned her. She had to move back to her parents' house, and then she works at our family, and that's the only source of income on their house. So we do on daily wages, because as the work increases, decreases. But then there are two people who we thought that were really, like, in need of stable income, so we employed them on permanent basis. Now they come every day rather than whatever the work is, like that. So it's like all along the way, it's like really like these things which, really kind of makes you think that, okay, it's something which is so positive, you're giving back to the community along with the bigger picture of trees.
Yeah, and I think that was also for me so amazing to witness that you can really feel this positive spirit also in the nursery. You can see how your family, how the women that are working there, how the supervisors, how everyone is interacting with each other and really taking this also as a community space, also with like kids running around, with everyone really like sharing the spirit and really enjoying the work. And what I find so amazing about like how your mom is also, and how you with this with your organization, people are empowering these women, is that it's not just about making them independent and giving them an independent income, but really working to upskill them and enable them to learn, which I find really, really amazing. And you can feel that people are also really feeling empowered and really want to learn more, and who knows what that's going to lead to in the future. So I found that really amazing, that mutual sense of learning from each other, and really including and empowering women throughout the year, giving them some sort of stability, particularly if like the stories you shared about the women where her husband died, that you actually suddenly have a stable income source and can make your own living. I find that really amazing. when speaking more about the nursery, because we also had some specific, more specific questions, could you tell a little bit more about the variety of trees that are being grown in the nurseries, how they maybe differentiate, what farmers like, what usually goes along with what, so to basically just shed some light on the nursery functioning.
Yeah, so we like we said we had the 80,000 trees, so we have diversified into like citrus and then North citrus. That's the main thing. So the region is very favorable for citrus fruits like orange, sweet lime, and then a different varieties of lemon and stuff like that. So most of the demand out there is for citrus trees because the conditions are very favorable. But at the same time, we are also, because there's a lot of citrus farms out there, we are, along with this, we are taking another step, and we're trying to tell them that there are a lot of non-citrus trees which have higher income and better stability and more thing. Like for example, we have hard pear, we have soft pear, we have peach, we have plums, we have fig, and we have some local berries like jamun and all this stuff, which I don't have an English name. I try to find, but what is the local one? So the breakdown of most of the thing is, I would say 50% is still citrus trees, and the other 50% is non-citrus trees, which mostly comprises of hard pear and soft pear, plum and peach, because this is what farmers really can like do, and also guava. The one which we are trying to say, guava has like, two harvest seasons in a year. So the, unlike all the other fruit trees have one, guava has two. This is also we trying to like say that if you want to like, have more harvest seasons, everything out there, so there are more, but then the demand supply mechanism, and also have to like really educate them about whole thing. You just cannot give, hey, take guava tree with their two harvest seasons. There's a whole process involved behind. Like when I said, my father organizes some seminars where he talks to them, because the nursery is actually the main point we wanted to. You have seen the nursery, right? The nursery is actually kind of pretty inside our farm. So one of the another reason was that we could have even done it on the very close to the main road or something like that, but we did not do it. We did it inside. That way, it was a message that farmers would come all the way to our farm to see all the other orchards as well. To see that you could see the progress, they could see how things work out there, just maybe inspire them in whatever possible way it could, so they could come till inside, see the farm working, and see like no pesticides, an organic way of growing things, and talking to dad, and maybe doing everything. So just not coming from the nursery to pick it up. So it's wanted to give them an entire environment, like you said, and inspire them that, hey, you know what, going towards agroforestry is a very efficient way and everything. So that's what was that out there, and that's what is it like. So we have diversified different things, but still it's mostly citrus, which is orange tree, and then locally it's known as kinu, and out there it's like, and then there is soft pear, hard pear, and peach, plum, figs, and depending on whatever it is. Like I said, that we have the local support of Ravi, like who has a lot of nursery experience from like last 15 years. He is the main coordinator who I am in touch with, and who was working with my father. He knows the nursery world like really well, so we needed to have an expert. And because he's into the nursery environment from last like almost like 15 years, so he kind of understands what demands are there, what farmers are looking, and what, for example, is has a better perspective with the climate conditions and everything. He's like, so he knows everything which is out there. So of course we take inputs from him, like what is there and everything, because it has to be a wholesome. We cannot just grow one tree and say that, okay, take this. So depending, like I said, we wanted to keep the farmer in the center, in the epicenter of everything, and that's why we needed to take inputs from farmers, from local communities, like Ravi also putting in his, that okay, I can see the demand for this tree is increasing, because in different nurseries you see farmers coming, so you can understand, okay, there's a pattern to like following whatever it is and everything. So that these are a lot of things, which a lot of thinking which goes into thing. But of course, like I said, keeping the farmer in the epicenter, because that's what you want to empower. And you mentioned in the beginning, like it's as sad as it is, like 12% of the suicides in India are like farmer suicides, where they're not able to pay back loans and stuff like that. Being like son of a farmer, it just breaks your heart to see that like with just a bit of education, small tweakings here and there, and giving them the platform to flourish, you can have such a positive impact on someone's life for years to come.
Yeah, amazing. And I mean, also, like for me to have been there and to have witnessed also the crazy like execution of the nursery. I mean, it was the first time that you took on such a project. We are often, of course, working with project partners who've been also like doing what they're doing for a long time. Of course, your dad has been an orange farmer, but still this project and engaging this whole community and setting up this nursery with this variety of trees, I mean, performed really, really amazing. Could you share maybe like just in a few words the success that you told me about in terms of the nursery, like how basically this nursery managed to outperform also expectations in the community? I found that just like such an amazing anecdote.
Yeah, like so for example, there's a government nursery in the region which is the most high in demand and everything, and where they have like 2 years of waiting and stuff like that and all that stuff. So we were, we when you have to give like 80,000 trees, so we kind of got more trees, because you put the losses and everything and all that stuff. And when we did everything, the success rate of a tree growing was so like so good that we did not imagine it to be that good. And then that was the first thing, because we followed every process thoroughly and everything. Also at the same time giving example that you don't need pesticides to do all this. We were using mostly vermicompost. And then we like you came and you saw like the trees and everything, because farmers they are in this profession for like really long. So when they come to the nursery, they see a tree, they know exactly like what kind of condition the tree is in, because they've been in this for maybe for us, like living in cities and different professions, we might not able to see the tree how healthy it is. But when the farmers come and they see, they know exactly. And that is I'm trying to say, like then they would come, they would see the tree and they say, "Are you sure you're giving this tree for free?" And then you're like, "Yes, you're giving it for free." So and they're like, "Why would you give such a tree for free?" And because they would come with an expectation that it would be like leftovers, or it would be like the trees which maybe from the last year did not grow properly and stuff. They come with that expectations to the nursery, thinking that it might be the stuff which is not sold, or it might be the stuff which is not like grow properly, or which might be a 50-50 chance. Or when they come and they see like like these are properly grown trees, like you saw, like there's everything, there's a different section for each trees, and they're properly packed in a packet with vermicompost, everything. And also that's sometimes they come and they're in kind of in shock, like why would you give such trees with such or proper trees for free? And that's again you come back to, it just shows that it's a positive thing that they were so surprised at how healthy the trees are and how good the trees are growing, and they could take it onto their farm. So that's the thing that is very overwhelming. Like I said, it was for us for the first time. Like I said, my father is an orange farmer. He's in that for long. I'm working here as things. So this is something, like I said, I would do in my free time, and I also request my father to work in free time. So keeping all that in mind, that it was something which we it did not expect it to turn out so good, but it turned out way better than our expectation. And then that's why I was so forcing you that Hannah, please visit it. Like I know we are doing it out here. It's very different to sit out here, but when you go on the ground, like which I was experiencing, the change of from last November to this November, I visited India like 3 times in that span. So I was seeing the changes, and I was feeling like, okay, this is something, because you are mainly behind it, have a big role behind it. So I was like, you should really come down and see what actually is happening on the ground. I'm so glad that you could actually come and see what on the ground what is happening.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, yeah, I just find it so interesting that, yeah, there is this notion of why would anyone like try to give us something for free? And I think that's also really what we try to envision as Impact Hero, that actually every action that we take here, or every transaction that is being done, also generates some positive impact somewhere else for people that are not as privileged, and really try to create positive impact, which hopefully at one point also becomes the new mainstream, so that you don't have to be surprised anymore to actually be given something that benefits you and your community, but that actually becomes the new normal in a sense. I would dream for that. And yeah, maybe looking at the time, maybe a little bit of an outlook, like what would you dream about when you think about Punjab and your region? Like what is your vision? What would you see changing in the next years, if you could dream for something?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like first of all, I mean, me being a son of a farmer, I would really feel like, empowering farmers should be empowered at whatever possible way I could. So my dream is always, like they're always neglected, they're always given fake promises, they're fake hopes and everything and all. And it's such a sad affair that, like the people who are feeding India, in a way, people who are feeding others are the ones who have the least power when it comes to the thing, because the companies have power because they buy from them, because they're big, because the farmers are so small. And I see them like at the at the bottom of the pyramid when it comes to anything in terms of powers and stuff like that, selling power or buying capacity, everything, and that's what really saddens me. So in my perfect world, I would really like to empower farmers where they are at the center of all the planning, because and also at the same time, like I said, that when the green revolution hit in, the farmers gained a short term gain, but in longer run they are really hard, harming the soil. So that's what I was trying to say, that we really need to tell them that it's not something which we can take for granted. In longer run we need to preserve our soil, we need to preserve our natural biodiversity, we need to kind of step back to our traditional ways in whatever possible ways we could. So that's what I would say, like educating them towards regenerative agroforestry, where they know that soil health is so important. We cannot always put synthetics into the soil and make it better. There's an end to that. That road will end one day, and we don't want to be there. And second, like empowering them in at whatever possible way I could. So that's then my dream. Like that's why I said that I want to empower farmers, because they are someone I see, they put their so much effort into their labor, but the outcomes are so sad to see. Like the farmer suicides, the natural conditions, they are so, it doesn't happen, rain doesn't happen on time. He just, like, the farmer would just put seeds. If there's no rain, it does not grow. So it's such a sad for the farmer to see his farm where there's no vegetables not growing. Can you imagine? I mean, sometimes when I imagine such certain things, when I put myself in different shoes, it just just kind of gives me that extra motivation every time, that it's something which is, I only want to give back as much as I could to the farm.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think that's a really great vision. And I mean, yeah, giving ownership and giving a voice, empowering the ones that do not have a voice, is something very, very important. In a perfect world, of course, hopefully in the very long run, we don't even like need, for example, companies are like ourselves anymore that give, people a voice, but actually everyone in the world is able to make a own and decent living with what they're doing, like for a job. So that would, of course, also always be the long vision. And I really, yeah, find your work so important. Maybe for everyone out there, if you want to read more about the India project and understand better how we work, and maybe see some images and photos, you're very welcome to go on impacthero.com and read our impact report, or on growmytree.com and read also in several blog posts about my visit to India, about the experience basically there, to basically educate more. Yubi, maybe as a very last question, what is one word, what does the world need right now?
Like if I have to sum up in one word, I mean, this is what I mostly say to think. It's actually where it's bridges. Like bridges. There are people out there who have resources but might not have the capacity to make impact, and there are people who have capacity but might have the resources to make impact. So we need more people like you building bridges between these two ends to meet, and that's what I would feel like, and that's how even I see myself, like just a bridge between connecting two ends which lack the other half, and then you can make such a good combination together. So like I said, more bridges connecting between people who have the resources but don't have the capacity to make an impact, and people who have capacity but don't have resources to make impact. So that's what I feel like. The more and more bridges we build between them, more and more it's good for overall environment and the goals which we are all trying to achieve. So that's what I would say, bridges.
That's a really amazing word. Thank you so much for contacting us and building a bridge between
Yeah.
Berlin and Punjab. Yeah, something, yeah, that I never would have imagined. And yeah, thanks so much for all of the insights. Thank everyone out there. Thank you everyone for listening and tuning in. As said, without your contribution, we would not have been able to build this bridge and together empower communities in Punjab. And I hope that was interesting for everyone. And I wish you all a beautiful rest of the day. And please tune in again next time. Thanks, UV, and goodbye.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you.